Sure, I'll keep my meals under $30 as per the policy. I'll make sure it's $30 every single time. I do a lot of fly-in fly-out travel for my job. Usually I am so busy with work while on site, or I am stationed somewhere with food options I don't want to waste my calories on, and I don't eat anything the whole day or just buy a coffee. Our employee expenses policy at work is $30 a day, which is mostly fine, but there are some high cost of living cities and sometimes my meals go above that policy because there are not many options, especially if I want to eat healthy, which is important when you are constantly on the road. Plus so many airports have completely shut down their food courts and haven't reopened them yet, so there's hardly any options but fast food. So I submit my expenses 1 month and I have gone $1.50 over the daily limit because I treated myself to a coffee that morning as well as a lunch because I was tired after the god-awful early flight I had to take. The company had recently changed their policy and now a different set of people are approving expenses. The previous people didn't mind going over by a few bucks because it balances out with trips where I didn't eat anything, but this new group are absolute sticklers and rejected the expense, citing I was over the daily limit. I tried to argue I had 10 other visits that month in which I didn't eat a single thing, but they still weren't budging. It really left a sour taste in my mouth. Now every single visit I force myself to spend as close to $30 as I can because duck them. My husband is happy because it means I now bring back, slightly squished but free, food for him. I feel bad for wasting food, but often I just buy a meal and eat a few bites and throw it in the bin. However, the expense policy is $30 a day and by God I am going to stick to it now. While in the past I might have billed $100 for the entire month because I didn't bother to eat, I am now billing twice or 3 times that. I also used to push myself to keep working all day, but now I religiously take my 30 minutes to go and buy some food, so that's 30 minutes less work they are getting from me too.
Now to the comments. My first business trip, my manager called me in and pointed out my food expenses were low. Well, I grabbed McD's for breakfast, a sandwich at the convention center, and we did Denny's for dinner. Your per diem is $75 a day. $15 20/40. Breakfast, lunch, dinner is the split, and you only need receipts if you go over $50. Now what were your food expenses again?
Good manager. In most companies, if you expense very low, the company decides everyone can manage with that low an amount. Everyone loses.
That might be the reason the manager told them to pump it up. Doesn't want finance deciding that. At one of the restaurants I worked at, we had a regular guy with a similar deal. He got so much money a day for food, he rarely spent that much. So whenever he was in town, he'd come in and spend $15-ish on dinner and pay with his personal card. Then he'd ask for a gift card for random amounts of money, like $28.79, and charge it to his company card. He told me he uses the gift cards to take his wife to dinner on date nights.
Big brain idea. I'm no longer in this kind of role, but a job change is on the cards, and most of my experience is in traveling-based roles, so it's a possibility.
Our expenses policy is $33.33 per meal period, so 3x daily, $100 a day, and we just get the full amount as part of traveling, counted from when you leave your house to when you get back. No need for claims, and if you spend less, the difference is a thank you for the pain in the arse that is traveling for work. If you spend more, in this case, covering any work-related expense, not just over-limit food, the customer just has to sign off on it, since they're billed directly, for that to be claimable as well. No customers we'd bother to travel for would quibble over a rounding error's worth of extra coffees.
OP replied. I have learned today that I am really getting ripped off by my job.
The place I worked beforehand was a little different. Accountancy firm purchased a sizable data center facility, then went around purchasing mid-sized IT integrators in each location they wanted to service. Just before the GFC started, every board member was a chartered bean counter. The place I worked for was towards the end of the acquisition cycle. Project expenses, including travel and food receipts, there had to be entered line by line against project, customer, and purpose, and they would review and reject individual items off a single receipt. Absolute nightmare. As the GFC started to bite deeper, it got far worse. You'd get phone calls about unutilized holes in your calendar and people fighting over billing time for advice given in casual conversation. After living through all that, when I jumped ship, shortly before they went insolvent and shut down, I was pretty particular about choosing where I ended up next. Beautiful. I used to do the same at my last job. If we had to stay past 8 p.m. we got a free meal, delivered and cab expenses. After being ducked around on a few minor items, guess who started staying until 8:01 p.m., a lot.
I remember at one point realizing the bar I was at didn't include M/PM on the receipts and was an innocuous with name. My afternoon lunch was very nice.
We have a lot of business conventions in our city, so we changed a few buttons in our POS so your itemized bill can say Cali Chicken Deluxe Club. $18. It's 3 draft beers. Hey man, if you still want to stick it to M, just pay $30 on someone's bill who looks like they could use the help. Win-win.
This is actually the best LOL. Just go around paying for random people's meals, on the company dime, LOL.
Do it getting coffee. Pay for the 2 people behind you. I used to expense account the unused balance right onto a gift card at the restaurant to make up the difference up to the allowable amount. Did this every time. Then you have about 3 options. Here is where it's fun to be malicious. 1. Use gift card toward next meal that you expect exceeds allowance. 2. Save all these small gift cards, $1 here, $5 there, to take home and use on your own tabs on a night out away from work. Or my favorite. 3. Use the gift card that your company is paying for to immediately towards your alcohol beverages separate tab, right then and there.
I went to a bar on the road that would print daily dinner special on your receipt and just price it at your bar tab. I liked those guys a lot. Shout out to Ocala, FL.
I'm originally from near this area and I'm extremely curious what restaurant this is, because that's ducking awesome. My old boss had a motto. We travel on the company dime and only on company time. We never had a flight earlier than 8 a.m., and we never landed after 5 p.m. I used to travel in Sundays to give me a full week of on-site visits. After 3.75 years I was told Sunday travel would not be reimbursed anymore, was told to keep work/life balance in check. But I knew it was a way to cut costs. I showed how that would mean I'd have to go back a second time each month, causing higher hotel/daily/etc. expenses and actually make work/life worse. Wouldn't listen nor care. So I adhered, started taking the red eye on Monday morning, renting a car for the week and flying back Friday night. Expenses tripled but all fell within policy. I was fired 3 months later.
You were fired because they were fools? I feel like they probably expected you to work a new system where you would cost them lesser. Some bosses are just pathetic.
Ouch, $30 a day? I think that is well below most expense policies. 10 years ago, it was $75 a day at my first real travel job. Sometimes if I had money left in my daily budget I'd stop in at a restaurant and get myself a $25 gift card to use later. I don't really have limits now. They just don't want bottles of DOMP showing up on the lunch tab, unless clients are there. Then spend whatever. If I'm traveling away from my family, sleeping in a bed that's not mine, I'm going to at least enjoy full service meals.
OP replied. It's like $100 if it's an overnight trip, but I prefer not to do those as I miss my family. But yet, after this I really plan on looking for a new job next year. I cannot stress what a bad mood this put me in. As you can imagine, as you've done it, FIFO work is ducking shit work, and anyone that does it deserves their comforts. I am just waiting as I am up for promotion in January, as I have been there X months and I can use that to leverage myself to a better paid job. I tried looking for a new job a couple of months ago, but although the pay was better, I couldn't make the jump into the promoted role I am hoping for.
Interesting. My company gives us meal allowances only if we have to stay somewhere overnight, $10 for breakfast, $25 for dinner. Most people get the free hotel breakfast and use the $10 for lunch. If we're flying somewhere, actually outside our division, it's $10 for breakfast, $20 for lunch, and $30 for dinner. I'm also about the lowest level associate that gets this perk, LOL. It's been a while since I did a lot of travel for work, but back then, it was a $75 per diem, cash prepaid, unless you were in a high COL location. I went to Wisconsin once, I'm Canadian, and the bean counters right about died when they saw the exchange rate for us to have $75 USD/day. My current job just expenses meals, no alcohol, on the company credit card. I spent most of my 20s being poor, so I know how to survive on $5 to $10 per day. I miss being able to buy booze and clothes with my leftover per diem money.